My name's Adele Onyango and welcome to another episode of Legally Clueless. No, seriously, I have no clue what I'm doing, but I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one. Hey you, welcome to this episode of Legally Clueless podcast. This is what's coming up a little later in this episode.
They used to beat me. I actually do have permanent scars from the beatings. For instance, there is this one time, my dad had long nails. I cannot remember what I did, but the punishment was my dad pinched me in the inner thigh. Doing that and with the long nails, I think I got scars or injuries from the pinching because he was pinching me with the nails. That was like on a Friday. And then on Saturday, I went to church with my grandma. So we've gone to church, we're back, and then I have to take a shower. So my grandma is washing me and I'm really crying. My grandma looks at the inner thighs and she sees I have bruises and injuries from the pinching. Of course, my grandma is mad. Why are you punishing a kid like this? And plus, I'm a girl. Why would you think that going into my inner thighs to pinch me was the best way to punish?
That is Linda's story. It's so powerful. Oh my goodness. I'm pretty sure you're going to connect with it and there's so much you're going to learn from it. However, if this is your first time listening to the pod, welcome to the family. Audio episodes like this go out every single Monday. We have a midweek teaser that goes out on Wednesdays. And if you head over to our website, which is legallycluelessafrica.com, you can watch our tour series, our video series, and sign up to be receiving letters from me. In fact, there is a letter going out this week. So sign up quick, fast. Yeah, I've been working on it for a while and I think it's going to be really wonderful. So sign up for a newsletter so you can get these letters. I don't want to talk too much because I have the midweek tease to do that. But I do want to say 3 things before we jump into Linda's story. First one is, I truly hope you're doing well. Genuinely. And I hope there's spaces where if you're asked, how are you, you can actually say how you are truthfully. I legit, as I'm recording this, was having a conversation with a new friend I'm making or connecting with. And he asked me how I am. And I was able to be 100% honest. And I'm just like, I'm so happy to have spaces like this. And then we ended up talking about the years in our lives where we had to really face ourselves and do internal work. So yeah, I wish that for you, a space where if you're asked, how are you, you can be 100% honest. But I hope you're doing well. That's 1. 2, I'm genuinely sending you such good vibes. I've had such a wonderful weekend. Our wellness talk went so well. Oh my goodness. I'm so happy to everybody who bought a ticket and attended. It felt like group therapy, to be quite honest, because even the attendees were offering tips. And one of the tips I was so glad about, this guy said some of the ways he's managed to heal certain wounds is having fire ceremonies where, you write down on a piece of paper the thing you want to get over and leave in your past, and you kind of throw it into this bonfire. I've been to one ceremony like that once. I've actually talked about it, the cacao and fire ceremony, tons of episodes ago. But yeah, it was so wonderful to hear tips like that being shared. And I just felt like, yes, this community is it. We are the free thinkers and we're the courageous ones who are really doing the work to heal ourselves. And I also just love that our project lead for the wellness talk, she did such an amazing job with the last one and with this one. I'm just so proud of her. Mercy, she's amazing. And because she's so capable, she's healing the control freak in me. And I actually feel like with time, she can lead so many other things by herself. It felt so good just watching her glow and shine and lead the conversation so beautifully. Proud of her 100%. And then third thing, I ended up hanging out with someone I absolutely love. Probably the safest space after the space I give myself, for sure. I am so grateful for spaces where I can talk about anything and everything, from our silly president's poor decisions to Terrence Howard's bizarre science and math declarations. What is happening? Hey, oh my goodness, to my business's strategic plan, to our attachment styles. Hey, I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful for a space like that. And just being able to spend the weekend in that space was really just a reminder of how lucky I am. I think sometimes we get caught up in the different challenges. I'm currently navigating something that could be a challenge, just like a life challenge or a life change. And I don't handle change too well. And sometimes you can get consumed by whatever challenge you're going through and you can think that's it. But I remember on Friday evening, actually Saturday morning before the wellness talk, just being like, I'm going to just drop this challenge to the side and I'm going to lean into the happy spaces in my life for now. And I'll come back to it when I feel like I have a solution, and allowing all the things in your life to lead. So not only the challenges to lead, but also the wonderful things. It's wonderful. And I don't know, this weekend I've just been reminded how grateful I am for the good spaces I have, It's funny, when I was healing after my divorce, I lost a lot of spaces that I thought were safe. But they weren't safe, not necessarily because of the people, but also because of the version of me that was showing up to those spaces. You know what I mean? And so while I was healing, I would be so worried that I was going to be so lonely, and just like isolated. But the last two things I want to share on that is, first, you can be alone and not lonely. I absolutely love my own company. I'm such a great experience. Like, the times I will make myself crack up and literally say it out loud, like, hey, you're so funny. It's definitely not madness, but yeah, it's just like, I love my own company. And years back, I used to run away from being alone and just feel my space with so many people, so many things, just so that I wouldn't be alone. And so I'm happy that I've discovered you can be alone and not lonely. And the second thing is, there is just so much love waiting for you in this big life. I am experiencing it. And maybe you're in the eye of the storm, like where I was right at the point of my separation and just thinking like, whew, this life is hectic, And you can, again, let the challenge take lead and consume your entire being. But I just want to remind you that there's just so much love waiting for you in this big life. And I don't mean like intimate love necessarily. It can be all forms of love. I mean, there's love in friendship. There's love in community. There's just like tons of love waiting for you and kindness. And so I want you to remember that there are going to be so many spaces that will see you for you and spaces that you will feel safe enough to arrive in as your full self. So hang in there. Okay, let's jump into Linda's story that unpacks her mother and father wound. 100 African stories on Legally Clueless. Stories from Africa.
My name is Linda Acheng Otieno, but I prefer to be called Acheng. Acheng was born and raised in Nairobi. That is what my mom says. I don't know. I was not there and I was not old enough to know what is happening. The moments that I can remember, I grew up at a place called Laundry. Laundry is in Babadogo. If you've been to those sides of Ruaraka and those sides of Riverside and Lakisama, Kasarani, you'll definitely know a place called Babadogo. Laundry was it's like a tiny village. I don't want to call it an estate, but it's a very tiny place at some place there in Babadogo. That is where I grew up. There were no buildings. There was nothing like story building. It was just some single houses made out of iron sheets and all of that. And we used to take a shower in the same house, but kids used to bathe like in the open area. In the morning, you put your water in like a tiny jerry can. You put it out in the sun, and then that is what you'll use to take a shower. Life became better. We moved from an iron sheet type of a house to like a single room made out of stones or bricks. So I'd say we elevated. Life became better. Meals became better. But compared to the standards of living, it was not as good. But I would say from where we were coming from, it was actually well off. Like, it was like being well off. I joined an academy school. I used to be number one every time. And those are the memories that I could actually get to pick from there. But one thing that is outstanding about my childhood, I didn't have a relationship with my parents, most of my mom. A reason I don't know. I didn't have a connection with my parents, not my mom. So I used to spend my days at home in the house. And the only type of entertainment that I had was either watching movies or listening to music. But I leaned mostly in listening to music. Because every time mom had Linda was outside playing, it would be, you would actually get the... you get the weeps. So I, being someone who doesn't like pain, I don't like things that inject pain, so I just used to be the indoors kids listening to music, and I think that is where I developed my love for dancing, because you listen to music, you see people dancing, and you're like, oh, she actually dances so well, so you try and imitate. I remember this one time I borrowed... back in the days, we used to have CDs when you want to watch like either a Nigerian movie or something. I remember I wanted to watch a Nigerian movie, but I didn't have the CDs, but my neighbor did have, and I went and borrowed. So if you guys remember, we used to have the part A and part B. And then there used to be like this car. There used to be like a cover to show you this is part A, and then the other one is written part B. So I put the first part, and once it's done, it's time for me to eject, and the CD is not coming out. So apparently this paper that had the part A writing stuck. So the CD was not coming out. I am not old enough to know how to go about opening the DVD and removing the CD and everything. And then, good or bad thing, when mom was coming from work, met my neighbor, and the neighbor was like, kindly tell Linda to bring back the CDs. And mom comes and she's like, oh my God, she was furious. What? You went and borrowed CDs from the neighbor? Take it back. So I'm like, it's stuck in the DVD. Hell broke loose. My mom whipped me really, really bad. I cannot forget that day, man. Anyway, that was that. So those are the memories that I can pick from my childhood. And I would say that having been a kid who actually just loved being indoors due to circumstances, it made me depend on myself. With other people's company or not, I can survive. And actually, I tend to enjoy my company more than having people in my space. So I think it's not an excuse, but I want to believe that is the explanation I would give to someone who feels like I'm distant, yeah? Because I got comfortable being in my own space and all of that. So in between, fast forward, it's 2009. My mom has given birth to our last born. Things happened at home and mom decided to leave and be a single mom. And of course, she took us with her. And we moved from Laundry to ghetto called Kariadudu. Kariadudu is not so far from Babadogo. It's somewhere bordering Kariobangi and Kasabuni, that area. My mom and dad, I'm a light sleeper, so I would say once in a while they used to fight. I used to hear it all, the fightings, the abuses. I used to hear all of that. I mean, I'm a very light sleeper, so with any chaos happening within me, I'll definitely wake up. So I used to hear them fight. I used to hear dad beat mom. One thing led to another, and I think dad got tired and found another woman. I don't know. Apparently that's the narrative. Dad got another lady and mom got to know about it and she decided to walk away. I didn't have a connection with either my mom or dad. So it's them parting ways did not affect me in any way because either way I didn't have a connection with any of them. To them I was just a kid who needed to go to school, eat, dress up, and that's it. Nothing like cracking jokes or anything. I just didn't have a connection with them. So them parting ways, staying together, it really did not affect me in any way. Plus, I feel my dad loved me not because I was his kid or something of the sort, but just because I was number one. They appreciated me being there because of my brains, not just because I was their kid. Because every time you just could hear them compliment, I am always number one at school. I'm always bringing gifts at home. I'm telling my brother, why are you not like your sister? Why are you not performing like your sister? Apart from that, there is nothing else that used to make them proud of me. So the fact also that they never allowed me to go out to play and they used to beat me. I actually do have permanent scars out from the beatings. So I have never had a connection with my parents. For instance, there is this one time, I cannot remember what exactly I did, but my dad had long nails. I cannot remember what I did, but the punishment was my dad pinched me in the inner thigh. And then doing that and with the long nails, I think I got scars or injuries from the pinching because he was pinching me with the nails. So that was like on a Friday. And then on Saturday, I went to church with my grandma, because by then my grandma was still staying in Nairobi, in Laundry to be specific. So we've gone to church, we are back, and then I have to take a shower. So my grandma is washing me and I'm really crying. And my grandma is like, what's up? So my grandma looks at the inner thighs and she sees I have bruises and injuries from the pinching. Of course, my grandma is mad. Why are you punishing a kid like this? And plus, I'm a girl. Why would you think that going into my inner thighs to pinch me was the best way to punish the kid? So my grandma goes, of course, calls my mom, calls my dad, abuses them, and they're like, if you feel like you're tired of living with the kid, me now, give me her clothes, I will go and live with her. Give me the kid before you kill her. So I went and stayed with my grandma for quite some time. So my relationship with my parents, it has been distant all through till date. So for that reason, I have been able to do things on my own. I don't depend on anyone to come and save me. And I feel that has affected my relationships with my friends, but mostly my romantic relationships. In the sense, I've already set a standard for how I want my man to be. I will never give someone the room to make a mistake. No one is perfect. I totally understand. But then again, before I go to the point of understanding that no one is perfect and you need to loosen up a little bit, I used to be very cautious when it came to my romantic relationships, in the sense, if you make a mistake, I cannot forgive you for it, especially if I had already addressed it. I would feel like me giving you a second chance and then you do the same mistake again, that to me screams daddy issues. Like, I'm giving you this chance just because I didn't get someone to love me, and now I'm accommodating your mistakes just for you to give me the love that I didn't get. So for that reason, I was very cautious. I think I still am, but not as much. I will never give you the room to make mistake, because I am already doing well for myself. You coming and dragging me behind is really not it. So my friends can tell you I'm very distant. We can be talking, but if tomorrow you decide to walk away, I won't chase you, because I've already normalized the lifestyle of being alone. So whether you're there or not, my life goes on. But I've tried to be intentional with my friendship. I check up on them. I call them. But this is something I have to remind myself. It doesn't come naturally. I'm like, you need friends. And they call you, so you need to also call them. So it's not natural for me. I have to keep on reminding myself. So we went from living in a single room to back to iron sheets, and I would say the sanitation was not as good. You guys know the life in the ghetto, so that is where we went. And I would say life was not easy because mom was struggling financially. She didn't have a job. Her business entirely depended on selling official shirts. She still does the business till date, but she was just starting, so she doesn't have a clientele, and you entirely have to depend on the little money that she leaves back at home. So you can't buy candles. There's no money to buy maybe kerosene to use for lights and all of that. So we used to use the street lights. That was actually providing lights into the area. So that is what we used to use to cook, because we cannot afford to buy a candle. And I mean, the lighting is free, so why not? So that is what I used to use to cook. And maybe when it's rainy season, you cannot sleep because, remember, my brother is still tiny. So I have to hold my brother because it's raining. So the water is passing underneath the door and also from the roof. So you have to wait until it's no longer raining, so that, because the mattress is on the floor, we don't have a bed. So that was the life, and I think things changed when I joined Form 1, because my aunt felt I have the ability to do well in my studies. So she took me in I would say my aunt, she's kind of well off, has a house that has so many rooms, has a fridge, something that I've never seen. I saw a fridge for the first time in her house. So I would say my aunt gave me the ability to be able to have the exposure that I have at the moment. Because immediately after I joined Form 1, I never went back to that place. I used to stay with my aunt. So staying with my aunt was an eye-opener for me because, one, I realized that there is more into life than just being in the ghetto. She made me understand that when you work hard, you can actually get to have the finer things in life. I finished my Form 4, I joined the campus, and all through my aunt was there with me, paying my school fees, sending me pocket money. But with time, I realized I felt like I was being a burden because you can imagine she's paying your school fees, giving you food. So I felt the need to just be an adult because I'm a firstborn. So I really felt the need to step up. So I started selling pin pops and Indomie back in campus just to be able to maybe just afford a meal because I struggled at some point. I think there's a semester I couldn't afford my meals and there is this one guy. His name is Victor Moses. Victor Moses ensured that each and every day I ate, which was So yeah, Victor Moses ensured that I had food, and anytime I used to call home, they'd be like, you think there is money waiting for you so that you just make a phone call and we're sending you money. So I think that is what really pushed me to start selling pin pops and Indomies. Because at least even if I don't make a sale, I can maybe cook the Indomie and have something to eat. So yeah, that is where I'd say that is the first business I did. So I sold Indomies and sold pin pops and the returns were good. The profits were good. So that was like I think either late when I was in my second year, third semester. Yeah, so Mom couldn't manage to raise my brother because, she leaves early, comes back late. So my mom decided to take my brother to upcountry to stay with grandma because, grandma is just at home. So my brother was taken to stay with my grandma and then mom remained alone in Nairobi. I have two brothers. So both of them were with grandma and then mom was staying now alone. I'm in campus. I'm doing business. I'm trying to survive. And this one time, I had a school fee area of, I think, around 2,500. And the finance officer was like, you're not the one paying school fees, so I need to talk to your parents, tell them to come to my office and sign on which day they are going to pay the balance. So I called my mom and I'm like, Mom, you need to come to school because of this, this, and this. And my mom was like, I'm not coming. I can't come. And she didn't come. By the way, this is Friday. I should be starting my exams, my final exams for the semester on a Monday. My first exam is at 8:30 a.m. So, of course, I'm not going to do the exams because with the area you cannot get the exam card. So I cannot access the exam room without that card. And the only way to do that is by paying the school fees. So I just decided, you know what? I'm not gonna stress about it. I think I'll just do like a special exam or something because there's no other way to go about it. So I'm heading to Rongai with a friend. I was schooling at Multimedia University. So we're heading at my friend's place at Rongai. And I'm like, but I'm not doing the exams. And she's like, why? And I gave her the narrative. And she's like, I can actually give you the money, you pay, and then you will repay me as soon as you get the money. I would say that I just feel like God blesses you using people, friends and such people like Victor Moses, people like Winfred, who actually gave me the money. I went and paid, and I was actually able to do my exams. Though I was late because even after paying, it doesn't mean the money reflects to the school's account immediately. It takes a few hours, and considering it was Friday, it reflected at around 8, 9-ish. So by the time I'm getting to the exam room, it's almost 1 hour late. But I still did the exams and I passed which I'm grateful for that. Life has not been all roses and gold for me. But then again, I wouldn't want to change anything about it because it has shaped me to who I am today. So I was able to graduate in 2020 and I don't want to stay back at home and do nothing. So I started to do thrifting. My first thrifting, the first clothes that I got from my thrifting shop, I got them from a place called DC. I believe that's on your way to Kibera. They were not good. They were not close to good. I think the fact that I just started, it was a step for me to get closer to what I really wanted to do in this life. So I thrifted for quite some time. My first shop was called Achieng Apparel. Did that for quite some time. And then I decided now to go from the main source, that is Gikomba. Thrifted there for a while and then decided to be stocking specific items. So I started stocking white shirts and belts, which did so well. I used to make sales. So I did that for quite some time until I got a job as a customer service representative. Did that for a while. And then after some time, I decided it's about time for me to launch my own shop, producing my own designs. Getting a tailor, I woke up and started just walking in the streets of Kasarani, just trying to get a tailor, asking them, are you able to pull up this design? How much will it cost? What do I need? You take the material, the design is not as it was supposed to be. It's a disappointment, a waste of resources. You look for another tailor. Same stories and the same story. So I got one that did not really get the design perfectly, but the design was not as good, but it was closer to what I wanted. So I decided I'm going to stick with that tailor and get to bring out vision that I had for the company. So I took back another material and I just told him what to adjust here and there, and up to date, he is the tailor that I'm still working with. So the stories that I've had ever since I was in laundry and career doo-doo, went to live with my aunt, campus, and all of that. I feel like that has shaped me to who I am today, because I just feel if things were different, maybe I wouldn't have been able to get to where I am today. Because people believe that for you to be able to hack it in this life, you need to have connections. You need to be, I would say, in as much as people are actually having the connections and all of that, I believe you need to also ask for God's grace. Because I believe if you have God's grace, you can be able to walk through rooms that people who have connections cannot be able to walk into. Or if you have God's grace, you are able to have ideas that connections cannot give you. So God's grace, hard work, and being intentional with what you want, I believe that is what has placed me to where I am today. Because if it were not for Ashik, I don't think I would have felt the need to move out and have this beautiful house. Because Ashik is an online business selling Kenyan-produced designs. For me to advertise it, it means my surrounding needs to complement the outfit. I need to have a nice background. I need to have nice lighting for me to be able to sell and market the product. For this reason, I felt the need of me to have my own house, decorate it in a way that I like, in a way that will appease my customers for them to be able to buy the product. I moved out, and one thing that I cannot forget, there is this one time I put, there is this feature that you post on Instagram and you're not able to tell who asked you the question. And someone said my aunt's couches were ugly. The seats were ugly. Yeah, so I'd say living with my aunt was like, she's a very easy person. So living with her was quite easy, I'd say. I used to dance a lot, almost every day. And in a day, I would do like maybe 3, 4, 5 dances. So of course, you'd see my surrounding. You'd see the couches. You see how homely it is and all of that. But then again, remember, my aunt is someone who is the only person with a degree in the family. So she's quite well off financially, I'd say, better than other people. So she has to finance a lot of things in the family. My schooling, his kids going to school, building a house for the mom and the dad. So it was a lot for her. So when I posted this feature that you could actually maybe say or ask something, but it remains anonymous, someone was like, the couches are ugly. Of course, I didn't take it in a good way because she doesn't want to give me the benefit of the doubt and be like, why are the couches looking like that? Because, I mean, my aunt is capable of buying expensive seats. She's a civil servant, so she's capable of buying, I don't know, a couch worth I don't know how many thousands, but she chose to channel the money to the most important things, like taking us to school and all of that. So I say to myself, this person is going to see me win. I was not trying to prove a point to them, but I was just trying to make them understand that we all love good things, but good things take time to acquire them. So I managed to move out, have my own space and all of that. And when I was buying this couch, I felt proud because finally I'm buying this couch, because the money that my aunt would have used to maybe buy better couches, she put me to school through it. So I was really proud that I was able to prove a point to whoever it is, because I never got to know who it was. So I was glad. I'm really hoping they saw that. Not for them to feel, oh, it's because of me or she bought nice couches, but just to make them understand that circumstances is what put us to where we are maybe. But we know everyone is always working to be a better person and be at a better space. Even as an adult, honestly, I haven't felt the need to create a connection with my parents, because when I needed them the most, they were not there. Currently, I'm not there yet, but I would say I'm well off. Things are working well for me. I don't think I really want that connection, because I don't see the need to have the connection, honestly. Because, I mean, I'm doing well. Why would I want to have that connection? I just don't see the need to have a connection with them. I think it's just the same also for my siblings. My brothers are a little bit closer to my mom. I don't know. I just feel like my mom loves my brother more than she loves me, because the connection my mom has with my brothers, it's not something that I have with her. Because when my brother finished his KCP, that is last year, 2023, that is exactly almost the same period of time that I moved out. So my brother came to stay with me immediately after I moved out. I just feel like my mom was calling more often because my brother is here. Because the moment my brother left, the phone calls were not as much. Or she calls you when she needs something. So yeah, I don't know. I just respect my parents because I am here because of them. But I feel like they should have done more, which they never did, and they never came through for me. I give all the credit to my aunt, because my aunt was there. You tell her, I need this, in as much as she'll be like, I don't have the money and all of that, she will still come through. My mom would just be like, I don't have it, ask your aunt. I don't have it, ask your aunt. So with time, I felt she's not someone I can depend on. Considering she's my mom, I feel like she should have done more. Because let's say, for example, my brother, our second born, he's currently at Maseno University. When my brother calls and he's like, I don't have pocket money, I'm willing to take a loan just to send him so that he has something to eat. But I'm not his mom. I just feel like, as a parent, if you feel the need for you to support your kid, you do anything to ensure they're comfortable. I just feel like my mom did the bare minimum with me, because she actually took 20,000 to buy my brother a laptop. I didn't get that. Even just 500 to buy food was a problem. So I almost tend to think that my mom loves my brother more than she loves me. And I learned to accept and live with that. I hold nothing against her. Like, you see the way you'd be bitter and you don't want to talk to her, you don't want to see her. I don't have that. That is one thing I'm grateful for. God gave me a heart that lets go. Let go. Like, I don't forget what you did, but I don't hold it enough for me to hate you and resent you. So I would say it is well as we are at the moment. I think when it comes to pain, people have different ways of handling them. My coping mechanism when it comes to pain is ignoring. Because I haven't learned how to go through the process of, there's a process of healing. I don't think I'm strong enough to go through all of that. I think it would break me. So my coping mechanism has always been to ignore the pain, because once in a while that wave just comes and it hits you and you cry and you're just like, oh my God, I hate them. And then the next minute you're just like, you're well. So I would say my coping mechanism is to ignore. I haven't taken any steps to go through the healing, because when you heal, you have to go through the pain, and I don't know how to handle pain, honestly. I don't. So the best thing to do, I always get myself busy, forget about it. And somehow for me it works, because the wave just hits you once in a while. And one thing I've also learned is that I'm aware when I'm getting triggered. I know when it's a trigger. So when I know it's a trigger, maybe I know how to act. I just be like, I'm being triggered. I need to loosen up a little. Let's say, for example, if I'm in a romantic relationship with someone and they do something and I'm about to break, I'm like, this is not working. You're not up to what I need from a man. I just be like, you're being triggered. You can actually sit down and talk about it. I take my time off, sit down, talk about it, and it's all cool. You just need to know. Personally, I've already mastered the art of going through life. I know when it's just life. I know when it's just a trigger. So yeah, you also need to know yourself, learn yourself better, so that you're able to understand your actions as a person. If you know me, you definitely know that I am not looking forward to being a mom, because I'm scared I might not be able to give my kid the life that they deserve. This includes a complete family. This includes a loving mom, a loving dad. And the worst mistake I feel like I can do is choosing the wrong dad for my kids. And then I have to put them through what I went through by being a single mom, and they don't have the attention of their dad and all of that. So I just feel to avoid all of that, the best thing to do was not to have a kid. So you see, them being the way they are has affected me in a negative way, because I joke about it. I'm not going to be a mom and all of that. But people don't know, maybe some, but no. I haven't really laid it out on the reasons why I really do not want to be a mom. But those are the reasons why I'm so scared of motherhood. Sometimes you're like, I really want to have a kid, but then again, you look at what you went through and you're like, I don't think I want my kid to go through this life that I went through. And we are living in a society where being a single mom is like, it's the norm. I don't want that for my kids. I want my kid to grow up in a family where there is a dad, there's a mom, there is love in the family, there is no gender-based violence, there is just a family growing out of love so that they can actually get to experience something that I didn't have. So with the fear of them going through what I went through, I just decided to buckle up and just, if God wants, they always say God's timing is the best. So maybe if I get a good partner and all of that, I might consider having kids. But my first instinct is not having a kid. And where we are at life at the moment, mending my relationship with my parents, it's not a priority. Actually, I just feel we're good with how we are. Talking after maybe, because I talk to my mom maybe 3 times, maybe in a month. And I feel that's enough. I feel like that is enough, because you see the way it's black tax. She doesn't call you, how are you doing? How is life? How is always calling to ask for money? So you see, if to them you're just but a wallet, what is the need to mend a relationship with such a person? I just decided to let things be the way they are. I think I'm good like that. Focus on a chic, focus on building myself, my brand, and I think that is where I get my peace.
Catch more African stories in the next episode of Legally Clueless. I told you that was going to be a powerful story. I just love how honest Linda was, especially about pain. You know, sometimes you can be aware of the pain and know that you're not ready to feel it. So you're just like, yeah, I'll just tuck you into a corner. I'll come back very soon, but not right now. You know what I mean? And I just loved how honest she was about it. I also connected with the bits where she was like, she's not looking to reconcile or like mend the relationship with her mom. I think in our heads, we think healing requires reconciliation. But healing is really your responsibility. And sometimes you will have to heal from things without you getting an apology, without there being reconciliation, you know? And so I appreciated her speaking about, you know, leaving things as is. And also sometimes, especially if it's relationships that we're talking about healing, you can be doing the inner work to heal the bits of you that probably messed up the relationship, but the other person may not be changing. So even in that situation, there is no reconciliation that's going to happen because nothing is balanced there. And you still have to do the work on yourself, on healing. Yeah, I loved when she talked about that. I do want to know from you, what's your relationship with your parents like? And I want you to describe it in one word. So on whatever platform you're listening to this podcast on, be it Spotify, be it Castbox, Apple Podcast, if there's a comment section, just let me know. What's the one word that you could describe your relationship with your parents, with your mother, with your father is like? Using one word. If you want to share your story on the podcast, please fill out our storyteller form in the show notes and we will get back to you. We also record stories virtually. So if you're African and in a different part of this globe, don't worry. We want to hear your story. If you are in Eastern Africa, catch us on Trace FM every Monday and Wednesday at 1 p.m. and 11 p.m. And Fridays we're there at 1 p.m. Just go to traceradio.co.ke to stream. And until, Wednesday. I used to say until Monday. Until Wednesday, hang in there. I'm sending you so much grace and just like good vibes. That's it for this episode of Legally Clueless. You can share this podcast with your friends. You can keep it for yourself. I'm not judging. Just make sure you're here next week for the next episode.